Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Brothers Take podcast. I'm Chris. I am joined once again by my brothers, Adam
Hello.
and Eric.
Hello.
And we are back in the room once more to give our take on all sorts of shit. But we don't even know what we're going to talk about. We're actually, the funny thing is the timing of this is that this weekend or the weekend just gone after this comes out is San Diego Comic-Con. And there's probably
We're literally
fucking
missing
loads
everything.
of shit. We're missing everything because we're recording ahead of time due to scheduling issues. But there is some other stuff worth talking about, including there was a big, some sort of scandal about the Zack Snyder Justice League thing, or there's some sort of confusion about it going digital or whatever. I think Adam's going to clear that up for us because we're confused about that ourselves. There's possible leaks about The Last of Us Part 1, which have also caused controversy in the last week, and I think that's slightly interesting. We might talk about that briefly. But then also as a follow-up to our previous episode, we're going to be able to give a review to, I'm going to be able to give a review to Netflix's Resident Evil series because I finished it. And if we're going to go into spoilers, I will give a fair spoiler warning. So, stick around for the chat if you're someone that has not seen Resident Evil yet and you're holding off or you're wanting to watch it maybe. Stick around for the rest of the chat and then we'll give you a fair warning when the spoilers are coming up. But we'll also, if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll have timestamps down in the description so you can jump to any point of discussion that you're interested in. And like something else comes up, we will have it timestamped. There could be something else that comes up that we're not even sure is going to come up yet. But we will have a timestamp. If you listen to us on audio platforms, unfortunately, I have no way of timestamping it. But, if you want to skim through or just sit back and listen and enjoy the discussion between the three of us. And we'd love to hear from you guys as well. And that includes anything that comes out from San Diego Comic-Con, even though we're not going to bring it up. Whatever comes up and you find interesting, touch base with us and we can have a discussion about it online or even in the comment section. So if you're watching this on YouTube, jump down in the comments, share your thoughts. And while you're there, why not give this a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and ring that notification bell for all future content. If you guys listen to us on audio platforms, then you can also touch base as social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on whatever catches your fancy. But without further ado, let's get the conversation rolling. Okay, I'm curious about the Snyder Cut thing because I'm confused and I just saw people giving out and I don't know what it is.
I've got my release the Snyder Cup.
Hashtag release the Snyder Cup.
Well, my circle seemed to have been all like, yay, this is amazing, we're getting digital and stuff. And I'm like, guys, I got like physical copy like last year. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't get it. And
Yeah,
this one is probably more relevant to I wonder. I know we're recording ahead of time. By the time this comes out, lots of stuff may have been revealed. I'm like, okay, I got. Do you think they're going to restore the SnyderVerse over again?
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And it's weird that this is.
Will have restored the SnyderVerse over the weekend.
Who knows? There are rumors about what could happen.
Yeah.
Whether they come true or not. We'll see. No point in getting too hyped because anything could happen. Really,
anything could happen. Anything could happen.
But
what was the whole Snyder Cut digital thing?
Yeah, because I was really confused by this because it was like,
yeah,
it was trending like crazy on Twitter, and I'm like looking at my iTunes library and I have it. I've had it since last April digitally. So I'm like, what's this whole? And then Zach himself posted a little image with the Justice League Real thing, that one that he had.
Yeah.
Basically saying now available on digital. That was posted then by various members of the cast then as well. I was like, why is everyone making a big deal about this? I've had this, we've had this for a year now. Well, supposedly America didn't. America hasn't had access to it because
really
it was exclusive to HBO Max and that was the only way you could watch it in the US. But because the rest of the world didn't have HBO Max, we were able to access it digitally, physically.
I get it.
I don't even know if they had physical copies. You could correct me in the comments. But as far as I know, HBO Max is the only way you could watch it.
Right, okay, yeah.
And now that, recently enough, Warner Media, which is what they were called,
They were bought, right? Or they were acquired?
Yeah, well, there was some sort of merging happened, so now it's Warner Brothers Discovery.
That's
So,
right.
so there's new people who's kind of head of the whole thing, and they're initially like they were kind of just using the Snyder Cut as an exclusivity thing to try to get people onto HBO Max. That was Warner
Right.
Media's thing. Even they weren't really too happy about that because that was actually HBO who were doing that. But anyway,
Right.
but now this new crowd comes along and they're like, yeah, no, fuck it, we're just gonna sell it. We're just gonna make it available to everyone, and that's kind of going against all the plans of the old guard, I guess. And
Does that kind of thinking make you happy about a possibility of like if it's going against what they were
well,
doing?
that's what's kind of exciting about like what the hell is going to
Mhm.
happen at San Diego Comic Con. I mean, let's
I love
face
this.
it.
Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah,
what
yeah,
has
but it's
happened?
actually
as-
happened. Yeah. We're gonna have to.
Like some of this could become.
We're
null
gonna have
and
to
void, but some of it could
retcon
still
this
be.
this recording next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose like in terms of speculation, but like let's face it, the DCEU is a disaster, has been a disaster, and will be a disaster because whether they have a plan going or not, like they have such PR problems with whether that's Ezra Miller, Amber Heard, they've
Yeah.
they have no main Batman. They've got various different Batmans. They got Michael Keaton, which they were hoping to bring into the new Flash movie. They've got the new Matt Reeves Batman, which is a separate thingy, and then they had Ben Affleck, who obviously left and didn't want to have anything to do with it.
And they themselves can't agree on Superman.
Yeah, they can't agree on Superman.
Right, like they can't agree on what Superman should be, and it's not a case of like do we just listen to the fans? And it's like they themselves seem to be arguing about what should Superman be.
Yeah,
it's an interesting one.
So I imagine the newer people coming in, like, I mean, if I was them and I saw like, well, we have
a fan base.
A fan base. Whether it may not be the rest of the world. Let's face it, a lot of people do not like the Henry Cavill Superman, but there are many who do.
Yeah.
And regardless of, like, I mean, better to make half the world happy than all of it, or none of it, really, So I'm hoping, let's just see what happens, but I'm hoping there's something, even if it's just like a Man of Steel 2, I think that would be great.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it.
But actually, speaking of like Man of Steel 2 or a Superman movie, just what you were saying, Chris, that'd be an awesome Superman movie. I'm just executive board people sitting in a room. It'd be like 12 Angry Men. Wow. But like just a bunch of people trying to discuss what is Superman.
And they're all
like
that'd be, can you imagine? That'd be amazing.
What a philosophical movie that would be.
Like if it was actually titled The Superman and Superman's not in it at all, but yet it is the whole topic of the movie.
Yeah.
That'd be fascinating.
What makes and defines Superman? Yeah.
What does make and define Superman? You tell me.
I don't know if we have enough time for that.
But the other kind of thing that just happened around the whole Snyder Cut thingy then was that there was a Rolling Stone article released.
That's right. Was that about the bots or something?
Yeah. So it was claiming that the whole movement is a hoax or a fraud. That it was like all bots involved in it. If you actually read the article, it's like 13%. Was bots.
What do you guys make of that?
Well, if you read, like, I mean, I've seen a couple of people respond. Sorry. Get choked up here. No,
it's okay. I know this is an emotional topic.
I've seen a couple of YouTube commentators, like, kind of, I suppose, using this as an opportunity to go, see, we're right. It's Hack Snyder, and the whole thing was just like, and then I've seen others kind of like look into this. Like, I've even seen a couple of articles from people who are not really a fan of Zack and have had a bad experience with various members of the community as well, because they can get pretty loud. Aggressive.
Get awful.
But even they're like looking at this going, this does not add up at all. And if you actually read through it, you'll see that it's actually the members who are no longer in the company. It's Warner Media.
Right.
That's who it's about. And they're saying things like well, they're claiming Zack said certain things, like as if he's going to come after them and all this, like threatening them and things like that. And it's just, the person who wrote it too does have an issue with Zack. There's a history of the things that she wrote. She obviously has it out for him. And is actually a big fan of Joss Whedon too. So I feel like she's probably a friend to some of these executives, and perhaps is using her ability. But the thing was written months ago.
Adam, the audio listeners can't see that you're wearing a tinfoil hat right about now, so I just wanted to point that out to them.
Well, actually, the receipts are there. If you go looking, you will see it.
No, I'm joking.
But the article was written months ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
just like waiting for the ideal
exactly.
time to kind of put it out, right?
It was like, why now? Well, it's like, well, something either this was to kind of stamp out the Snyder cut on digital, which seems a bit weird because it's like, so what if it's gone digital? Like the rest of the world's able to have access to it.
Or do they know?
Or is something happening?
Do they
or have
know?
happened since this releases?
This is hilarious. Do they know that the Snyder? Anyway, no, sorry. Before I even go any further, Eric, what do you make of the whole the 13% of the Snyder Cut movement, like release Snyder Cut, was bots? It wasn't real. It wasn't real people. What do you think?
Didn't hurt anyone. Doesn't hurt anyone. Like this guy. Okay, so now I'm gonna get like real deep because his director lost his daughter, was kicked off his dream project, had it butchered by other people who hadn't a clue what the fuck they were kind of talking about, pissed off a shit ton of fans who wanted to see these characters come to life, and they really believed in the project that Zack was doing, his vision. And he makes lots of references to all the comics and stuff like that. So he makes references to source material. So if you're a fan, you can see it. So yeah, like there's loads of people, but like, I mean, like, okay, it's saying 13% of bots out of everything, but you had like physical planes flying outside the Warner Brother Tower with like banners saying release Snyder Cut. So it's like that 13% is sure double digits, but you still had a lot of physical people wanting this movie release. And when it was released,
87%,
you have 87% of people.
Quick math.
But that's 87%, 87% digitally, not even 87%. Like not even, that's not including all the other people.
I've actually seen some of these
who just didn't get involved in the campaign.
Who didn't get involved, who wanted it released.
I've seen some of these tweets. I remember during the height of it. And this is 100% a Twitter problem. Right, it's like, you know, it's the way they're painting it. Like, I mean, they actually literally call Zack a Lex Luthor type character orchestrating this whole thing. They like, that's in the article. It's like,
wow, okay,
what? But I've seen some of these tweets, and a lot of them were things like, because I remember, like, you know, during this, I was excited about the whole thing, and you're kind of following that trend, the hashtag, and you're scrolling through, and you're like, what the hell is this? And you're just scrolling, you just keep scrolling, but it's just people who have like a recipe blog, and they're just trying to get it out there. So they just started spamming all these hashtags, and you'd see Zack Snyder's release the Snyder Cut hashtag included in like just the most random of posts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just like people playing the system. Like random people have nothing to do with the movement. So how is that anyone's problem but Twitter's? Really?
Right. Yeah. But also, like, and I'm not trying to. I mean, bots are used for everything. For absolutely everything. So to be honest, that's not at all shocking. That is in no way surprising. There's bots literally used for every single campaign. You'll get charity movements, and there's bots included in that because it pushes the campaign forward. It's not necessarily even a bad thing. It just means that there's like, it's like, well, I really believe in this, but I gotta go to work, so I gotta get something to keep pushing the message forward. You know, or like, you know, okay. In other cases, it can be quite nefarious. I don't think in this case it is. I don't really see what the problem is. And if you don't like the movie, just don't watch it. And that's fine. Yeah, or if you did watch it and you were like, honestly, I thought it was shit, that's fine too. If you watched it, you thought it's too long, that's fine. But if you also watched it and thought I loved it, that's all fine. It's all fine. As though, I don't know. Calm down.
Yeah, well, it's just
it's all fine.
It is a bit mental, isn't it? Like how much of a big
I
deal
I
the whole
I
thing
really I really don't know why anyone gets so mad about it on either side. Actually,
yeah,
you know,
but
like,
yeah.
do you get me?
yeah, both
Yeah,
sides. Both
on either
sides are
side.
very,
Um,
very zealous about the whole
like, don't get
thing.
me wrong, I like passion, right?
Yeah.
I think passion is a good thing. Like to passionately like something or passionately dislike something, but in a way that you feel you can back up, and have a genuine discourse about. Like, I have no issue with someone making some kind of YouTube video where they absolutely bash the shit out of the Justice League, right? The Snyder Cut.
Mhm.
But they're doing it from the perspective of they genuinely dislike the filmmaking and the way in which it's made, and this is their problem with it, right? And
Yeah.
to do it in like it's like a legit interesting like video essay that you can sit back and go, oh, they made some really interesting points, not necessarily my perspective, but interesting. And vice versa, that this is why this movie rocks or whatever. What I don't like is this kind of like, this whole movement was evil and orchestrated, and it's like, it's a fucking calm down, will you? You know.
Yeah, well,
Like,
again, it's back to like what I said, like the 13% bot system, the 87% not bot system. It doesn't hurt anyone. Like the movie existing doesn't hurt anyone.
No.
And
Really?
raise money.
And raise money towards
raise money for a
prevention of
charitable
suicide.
cause, but
Yeah.
but not only that, so it's like, okay, so that's a personal matter for a lot of people and a lovely cause. But on the other side, then if you want to think about it, it's like, yeah, but what about like Warner Brothers, who pumped so much money into this thing, or whatever? It's like it made them money too, because the amount of subscriptions they got to HBO Max over this thing. So even on a business side, it was a successful movement, regardless of if 13% of it were bots.
Didn't they? I don't know if it was an algorithm issue or whether it was something else, but didn't that movie get released early, like a day early? I was like, people clicked on Tom and Jerry, and like Zack Snyder's Justice League came up with something.
That did happen. That did happen.
That's how it was leaked, and that's the. Did you? Yeah, Zach.
So some people thought that was a nefarious act.
Yeah, but did you see the thing that Zach posted, which was the Tom v Jerry?
Yeah,
Like,
I did.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Those gas. He's got a sense of humor.
He's got a sense of humor. I love actually Jeez, this is a Zack Snyder conversation now. But he watched like Batman v Superman, and it was all the clips where Batman does straight up kill people, and just him going like, no, he's fine. Yeah, no, he's fine. He's grand. like Batman straight up blows up a car. No, he's grand. He's okay.
Yeah. And I suppose I think the funny thing there is that it's like you have a guy who really reads these comics, really understands the characters, and like knows deep down that the whole Batman not killing thing is a pivotal part of the character. It is so important to who that character is, but is also like, yeah, but it's badass to blow people up with a Batmobile though. So it's like that's his dilemma. It's like, yes, I love Batman, but I also love killing people in the movies. So here we go. You know. So I think it's fun. It's fun that he has fun with the characters, and he's okay having a laugh about it. But let us know what you guys think about this whole
it's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's like Snyder hate over 13% bots.
There was also bots used for the Oscar win as well.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, bots are included for everything. Like,
but even we said, and like again, I mean, we have a whole episode on the Snyder Cut, and we did a lead up to it, and like we're big fans of the Snyder Cut, right?
Yeah.
Big into restoring the SnyderVerse personally, but even we all said that category was bullshit anyway. Like, who cares? Honestly, like that whole category was bullshit. No matter what one, it was like there's no like.
Well, I didn't mind the category. It was what was chosen for it.
That's what I mean.
Sorry,
I mean the selections.
Only two films deserve to be in that, really, wasn't it?
The fact that the category didn't have any parameters, that's what was bullshit about it. It's like, so who cares?
Yeah.
You know?
There's like the Matrix in there. I was like, what?
yeah. Which is like, yes, that's awesome, but that's also over 20 years old at this point.
Yeah,
like,
it's like, why is that in there?
How is that compared with it? Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting one. And I you know what? I hope we have by now, when you're listening to this, some really good news. Okay, out of curiosity, I know, and this is ahead of time for us, but do you still want the Snyder Cut or the SnyderVerse restored? Eric, I'll come to you first. Do you still want it restored, and why do you want it restored?
I want it restored. I do want it restored.
I know that. That's why I said, and why do you want it restored?
I don't know if we're because I really like his vision, his version, the character arcs he was doing with them. Now I'm not wanting 40 something movies or something, like, you know what I mean? It's just his, I think he had like a 5-movie plan, so just kind of do that and it's fine. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
just end it there.
Yeah.
But I just, his depiction, his artwork, his cinematography, the music that he got Tom Holkenberg to do, the character journeys that he was doing for every character was just very interesting. And also getting all the various mythologies spread across decades of comics and roping them in. So I very much like to see it. I don't think we'll see it. Honestly, I don't think it's
gonna happen. Okay. You don't think there's any chance? If you're like the new guy, you're just after acquiring Warner, you're looking at everything they were doing wrong, and you're thinking, well, lads, I think you're Egypt's sitting on a gold mine here.
Yeah,
you don't
I'll
think they're
get
thinking
fired that day. They'll let me go that
No,
day.
you're the new boss. I mean, you've just bought.
Oh, I'm the new boss.
Yeah, you own Warner Brothers now. What do you think now?
Ah, well, I mean, I've just re-released Lord of the Rings again.
No, yeah, okay, well, there's that. But I mean, you're looking at DC as your biggest moneymaker at the moment, or at least the thing you're betting on the most. So,
So many ideas in my head for DC. I don't think we have enough time.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, if I was the new boss and I've seen that there was the big move and the big fans, yeah, sure. I mean, I would release it, but I just don't think.
You don't think
I just don't really think they're going to do it. No.
Okay. Adam, do you want it restored still? Why do you want it restored?
For me, the SnyderVerse is more than just his 5-movie plan. Though, the SnyderVerse was actually a much larger, like a coherent plan. Shazam was in there too, but I feel like Shazam's whole direction shifted based on reception from movies above, and so did Wonder Woman actually. But it included like all of those other directors too. So I would want that restored, because at least that was a direction that included his 5-film arc.
Yeah, interesting.
Because it clearly got to a point where they were like, we have no idea what we're doing, and we're actually just throwing shit on a wall.
100%, and that's what they're still doing. I would like to see it restored, but under some conditions. And so I'm kind of in the middle of you guys, I think. I actually don't necessarily want it to be the entire DC thing. I'm actually perfectly okay with it being a self-contained series that's just Zack Snyder's series, and it's just those characters, right? Mainly because I think I like. I think here we go with the comparison. I think with Marvel, we've gotten to a point now where it's become so stale, and it's like, I'd love a fresh interpretation of some of these characters, but we're never going to get it because, it's like I'd love someone to do a totally different Iron Man, but now we can't because they're this many movies deep in. Iron Man is dead in their canonology, and they're still going, right? And so I think I kind of like the idea of just like a closed series, and then someone else can come along and do something different again. Because like, yes, there's too many Batmans, but I love Batman, so I'm perfectly happy with a new version of Batman every time. So I would prefer that personally. It doesn't mean now if they did say, or the whole thing, I'm not gonna be like, cancel. No, I'll go with it. But I absolutely want the Flash recasted.
I think you could really shift around. I don't think the actors, some of them, I don't think you need to be precious with many of them in order to restore what was initially planned. But I think it's just about, and it's always been, if we go back to a comparison then between the Marvels and the DCs, I think why I always gravitated a little bit more to DC, like initially, I think obviously where it's at now, it's a little bit different. But initially, I always felt that this DC, even back to Christopher Nolan, if you want to go that far, is that the directors actually have a voice in the movie. Like if you watch the film, you can go, that's a whoever film. You don't have that on the Marvel side. In fact, many directors were fighting and lost their jobs and things like that. You don't really, outside of maybe the Russos, but even there's a little, like, everything looks the same. So what I would like to see restored is like, I want to see what Patty Jenkins can do with Wonder Woman without the interference of the studio, so that we don't get another 84.
Right. I suppose the way I was taking that up, and I think we're actually coming at it from the same perspective now, is that's what I didn't want was every movie is a Zack Snyder movie.
No, God, no. That I don't want. I want 5 movies.
Even though I like what Zack Snyder's doing, and I don't mean I want him to direct them all, but what I mean is I don't necessarily want his tone on everything, because I absolutely loved seeing Matt Reeves as an auteur on his movie, right?
Agree. Yeah.
And even though, and this movie might not work for some people, I quite liked James Gunn as an auteur on his movie, The Suicide Squad, because for just The Suicide Squad, I thought that worked. Would I put him on another DC property? No, but I liked it on that. So, and that's kind of what I want to see. And yes, I agree. Absolutely, stop interfering. Like the 1984 was atrocious. Absolutely.
And
atrocious.
it is ridiculous that Patty Jenkins had to fight for the No Man Land sequence in the first Wonder Woman,
which is
like,
the best
sequence in the entire movie. And it's like that just goes to really show that the directors know what they're doing.
I also like
for living.
In that similar vein, I really enjoyed the James Wan's Aquaman.
That's such good crack.
Like, just it's so fun. Like it, and not necessarily do I sit back and study it or anything, but I had so much fun with a movie that's like, this is one of the most ridiculous characters, and yet I'm having a blast. You know what I mean?
Also, an interesting thing with Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman and James Wan's Aquaman is that they still somewhat fit in the universe.
I think the Wonder Woman does. The Aquaman is a bit shit here is just not connecting like at all.
I don't know.
You could force it in a little bit.
The cinematography.
You could. Like, it's a step in one direction, but you could definitely fit it in. Shazam?
Shazam, no, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Not even the slightest. But Shazam should never, ever be a shared universe movie. Shazam should be a self-contained story.
I'm sure we'll see. Well, we'll find out. Every audiences know. But I have a feeling that on that stage, Shazam, that's probably the thing that's going to be shown is Shazam. I'd imagine.
Shazam 2.
Oh well, yeah, Shazam 2 is coming out. Yeah. That's 100% going to be shown. Yeah. And he's probably going to have a cameo appearance in Black Adam as well. I imagine. But even at that, it's like even the tonality there. Like, you look at some of the Black Adam stuff, and it's very clear that on even just his character, there's kind of a Snyder influence there in terms of what they're doing. I don't mean on the movie as a whole, but I mean certainly on the way Black Adam is being portrayed. And that's going to jar a lot with Shazam, which is a totally different vibe.
It's really annoying because, like, I actually think Zachary is that his name, the actor.
The actor,
Shazam,
I really like him. I think he's a pretty cool actor.
Yeah, he's fun.
Feckin' hate the character Shazam that they have portrayed.
I know.
I really hate it.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. But yeah. Actually, just out of curiosity, before we move on, because we were saying about you were saying that some of the actors are absolutely replaceable in terms of the Justice League. And I think we all agree Ezra Miller has to go. But how many of them do you think are like, no, you need them though? Like, they need to stay in that role. Or are there any of them?
I think in the main Justice League crew, I probably wouldn't touch them, apart from the Flash. But outside of that, I don't think you need to be that precious.
Right, I get you. In terms of if you're bringing in other characters, you don't necessarily, like, even if you were to bring in a Shazam, it doesn't have to be Zachary Levi's Shazam. Is that what you mean?
Sure, if you want. I meant more the kind of secondary characters, like even if Volko was to be replaced, I wouldn't be too precious about that. Although Willem is great,
right?
I wouldn't be too precious about that kind of thing, you know.
Right, like our Amber Heard, or whatever.
Yeah. Another Atlantic.
Not Princess Mira, Amber Heard. She's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Do you remember
Not
that
even
character in Aquaman, Amber Heard?
Are you British or have you got a British accent or American accent? Make up your goddamn mind.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Eric, are there any actors that you feel from Justice League are like must stay, even if other people are to be changed or replaced? But it's like, no, you got to keep them. That's
must stay for me. Would be Ray Fisher, just because he only got one movie and then got fucked over, and that's really sucks for him.
And in the
yeah.
original, he would have had his own movie.
He would have had his
yeah.
own
In the
movie.
original plan, he did have his own movie. Yeah.
Bring him Henry Cavill, Superman.
Yeah, I think he could stay, right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. If they restore a SnyderVerse without Henry Cavill, we riot. And there won't be bots. There won't be bots.
Nothing but bots. 87% bots, 13% real people.
I felt triggered actually. I went onto a website. 100% recently.
Reason to remember the name.
I went to a website recently after reading that article, and it just asked, are you a robot? I felt a bit attacked.
Yeah. That must have been someone who hates Zack Snyder. Asking you that. Was it CAPTCHA?
Fuck those guys.
Fuck those guys. So you think Henry Cavill is a must stay? Anyone else?
Well, kind of actually all of them, to be honest. I get rid of Ezra Miller, but he even before a lot of the crap that came out, he still.
I'm coming from a point of even well before any of that. I don't like Ezra Miller as the Flash.
I never liked him as the Flash. I think what was done with him is cooler than what he brings.
Yeah, well, it's okay, but I don't know. When you watch you can read some of the comics about, but when you watch the Flashpoint Paradox animated movie, that depiction of the Flash is a really good depiction of the Flash, and I think that should be where they're going with it, and less of the awkward teenage kid thing. I think they should be going for that version of Flash, who I don't know, has a point to prove and is responsible, kind of more like a Peter Parker Spider-Man thing, juggling their responsibilities and stuff. I think that's the direction to take the Flash. I think.
But I'd probably
and obviously Gal Gadot.
Imagine
keep her.
I'd probably keep most of the others based on just at this point they're well established and somewhat cemented within.
Yeah, when you see them, you kind of go, "That's that character," don't you?
That's Snyder's vision. Might as well try leave it as unscathed or untouched or unchanged or unaltered as possible. Absolutely keep. You're gonna replace Aquaman.
No, they might have to replace Ben Affleck.
The Batman.
Oh,
Mr. Batman.
I just don't think he can do it anymore. And I don't mean his acting ability. I
think he could now. I really do.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
He just seems to be in a slightly better place.
Married and everything.
Yeah.
No, I know, but he also loves being a director, and I think there's just a lot of
that's another movie that went.
That's the thing. He went into this with the knowledge of I will be writing and directing my own Batman movie. Right?
I would love to see.
And I think that was part of his kind of personal condition on taking on the role of Batman.
Sure.
So I think there's just a bit of coldness about that whole thing, and I just feel like he.
But if it was restored, he could have his movie. That's what I'm saying.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I'll be down for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd keep Darkseid and the Sad.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Them. And Granny Goodness. I don't know who she was, but she held that mace so good. Keep her.
Honestly, I don't care who plays her. Yeah. Yeah, fine.
What's
sure.
she, like 9 feet? She's like the Lady Dimitrescu of the DC universe.
Fuck
Say that. Huh? Don't say that. That's fucking weird.
Granny Milkers.
Oh my goodness.
Oh Jesus.
Oh my goodness.
Thank God films can't be modded. Excellent. Okay, so moving on from the Snyder stuff. This was great. Look at that.
I told you.
The Snyder Scandal. That's what that was. Okay, moving on from that, and hopefully by the time this is out, we'll have fantastic news. But we might not. We don't know. Anyway, moving on from that. I suppose another fan base that can get toxic sometimes. I think it's worth mentioning, at least because in the last week, supposedly there were leaks from The Last of Us Part 1. Now that sounds funny.
That sounds hilarious to me.
That sounds funny, right? Because it's like I kind of fucking know those leaks? Yeah, they're in my house. I have them.
Yeah. What could you
But-
possibly ruin on me?
Yeah, right. But what did come out of it, supposedly in the claim, and a lot of people were saying that when they're looking at it, that the images that they feel they must be real because it's clearly not the remaster, but it's also stuff that we haven't seen yet.
All right, okay.
Right, but it is of The Last of Us. But they were saying, some people are saying that they've seen gameplay segments, which we haven't been shown at all yet. And I suppose we all had the assumption, and this could still be the case. Again, take this all with a huge grain of salt. But we had the assumption that The Last of Us Part 1 would have the gameplay from The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay.
Right?
Some degree.
And they're saying no. The people who say they've seen leaked gameplay, that there is no gameplay changes from the original.
What?
Okay.
What?
Like how much different
Right.
is the gameplay of 2 to 1?
Well, like things like going prone, for example.
Or jumping.
Right, but Joel is like
Or
50.
jumping, or any of that stuff, right? So let's entertain the rumor for the moment. Like, let's just entertain the leak. Let's just pretend it's true and that's the case. How would you feel about that if that is the case?
Doesn't bother me.
Well, I never really expected Joel to go prone in the game anyway.
Okay.
In the remake, because it just didn't look like something, especially considering Joel from the remake looking graphics. Joel looks older than he does in the PS3 version.
Yeah, I don't know why they've done that.
He looks older, so therefore it looks like him going prone and crawling along the ground will probably do more damage to him than like a hunter. So he probably won't go prone.
That's fair.
He might go prone as Ellie.
Right.
She might go prone. And then other than that, like I don't really. They might include jumping. I thought jumping was in Last of Us Part 1.
No.
Like
no,
a little. He did like a little jump. No.
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 Why did I think that?
No.
I mean, jumping is not
bring
really in the second one. It's just kind of there are certain ledges and things you can jump across.
Yeah,
but I think as well it's all those other like little things, like the quicker maneuvers and stuff in Part 2. You know, like Part 2 was more seamless to play in its gameplay than Part 1.
Well, I think they did that based on the fact you were playing as a younger character.
No, I think it worked.
So you feel like the gameplay is built around the character as such, and not just to make the experience a better gaming experience?
Nah,
a bit of both.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a kind of a what do you call that? Like life improvement kind of thing. Make it feel smoother and all that kind of stuff. I'd imagine that I imagine the animations would be improved upon, and that will make it feel smoother. Right. I couldn't really care if prone is not in it, because I never felt like, the thing is, when prone was introduced into the second one, it was more of a, well, it's about time more so than this game needs it. It didn't really add anything. I mean, you can still do stealth in the first one, so it's fine. It was just needed more so in the second one, I guess, because they introduced the long grass mechanic. Sure, if there's no long grass mechanic in the first one, then it doesn't matter. It's not needed because we have things to hide behind. So it's totally fine, I think.
I think people felt that they were going to add the long grass mechanic to Part 1.
I don't know if that really isn't
so
needed.
I think the question is becoming... Yeah, well, that's the question. Is this needed at all? Is any of it... it's a $70 game, like.
Yeah.
Well, and if it's literally just a facelift...
Yeah,
I don't mean just a facelift as in like that's fucking easy. Like I can't make a fucking game.
Yeah, no, it is rebuilt. Like, it's a completely rebuilt game. But in some ways though, it's like, you know, okay, so why is it critical? Why does like Naughty Dog get a criticism for doing this, or Sony? But like, we get facelift games from Nintendo all the time.
So what would be like a strong example of that?
Well, a lot of the Pokemon games are straight up remakes in terms of it's just the kind of newer graphics. But the gameplay is like, I mean, gameplay for Pokemon hasn't changed since inception of Pokemon, really. And there's a load of Zelda games, like the whether it's the what's that one, the Link to the Past, is that the
Right.
name of it? Like that's a
Right.
remake. The I suppose the 3DS versions, which were remakes of the N64 versions, like they do get or Skyward Sword, which actually doesn't look that much different. It is a remake kind of, but it actually doesn't. They actually try to hold on to the artistic look of the original, so they try to make it even look like the
So
old game.
What's different about them? Do you have more control of the camera or something? Or
Well, for that one, they even tried to bring in the motion controls. So fuck all, actually, but they're still charging you £70.
yeah, right. Fuck that. Says
At least this is like, a fresh coat of paint. Like the performances would be much more dramatic. The graphics would be a lot more immersive. The sound, the 3D sound would probably be the haptic triggers. I'm sure are all in there. Like it'll just.
I would hope so. Yeah.
If you decided to go back and replay one, chances are you're going to pick up that one over the old one.
So if I was to play devil's advocate for a second, right, and I could go, okay, so you could justify this remake by picking out really shit examples of how to do remakes and saying at least it's better than that. It's like, or you could go, why didn't they take a page out of what Capcom are doing with the Resident Evil remakes and go, we have an opportunity to do a remake of one of the most beloved games of all time, and in a revisiting of it, why not do something special with it, do something different with it, and make it even better than it was before? Not just how it looks, not just how it feels, but even a better game. So why not take a page out of that book?
Well, I would just say that when it comes to the Last of Us, the game itself, apart from like let's say it's loading, actually that's it. That's a pretty fucking solid game. Like there's like nothing else you can really do with it. Because I actually do think that the things that they added in The Last of Us 2, don't really add to The Last of Us.
Oh man, come on, great.
Honestly, I don't think the prone really adds anything. I don't really think that the jumping really adds anything. It still feels like the same game, in many ways. The graphics are better. Sure.
Well, it's in many ways, I suppose, I always thought as much a leap as say MGS2 to MGS1, in that it's you're adding additions to the already established gameplay. But it's not like you're playing the first game and you're going, oh, this game is clearly missing putting people in a locker. Like, because of that, this game is like lesser than, right? But it's like, but when you can do that, it's like, oh, that makes sense. Now that they can do that, that makes sense. Yeah,
I know, but then when they added that into, like, when they put the gameplay of MGS2 into MGS1 for the Twin Snakes would have been a better game if they had just did the graphics update, and that's it. The gameplay changed. Bringing the gameplay to MGS2 over to MGS1 actually broke the game.
Yeah, well, they sort of didn't think out the redesigns, right? Like a remake of Metal Gear Solid could work with updated gameplay, but you have to then, you have to allow for those changes when redesigning the boss fights, for example.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that would be... I mean, how much of it... When we were talking about, like, remakes then, how much of it do we want to kind of retain what we loved about it, and how much of it do we want it to be a drastically different experience?
Well, that's a good question, right?
This is becoming like
what makes a remake exciting?
Because I thought what was actually...
What'd you say?
The ship of Theseus riddle.
Okay.
Which is where when you start replacing parts of the ship, does it still remain as the old ship?
Yeah, that's cool. That's actually really dope.
I think that's in WandaVision, actually. It's Vision and Vision are having that.
What you said
was
fantastic.
It isn't that. Yeah.
Excellent. Well,
that's a cool conversation.
It is fantastic.
But like, remember the Shadow Moses in MGS4, right?
Yeah, right.
And it was like, oh man, this is so like it's just seeing it in
the nostalgia
in the new like looks and the new technologies that they can bring is like, oh, this is so fantastic being able to see this again.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't know about you, but I was shocked by how small Shadow Moses was.
Right.
because
Right.
you have all the way you traverse through it is obviously very different.
Yeah, well, that's it though, and as well, they're not putting up as many roadblocks for you.
Yeah.
Whereas in an actual remake, those roadblocks would be there. You know what I mean? You don't have the key cards to certain rooms. There's armed security everywhere, and you have no weapons. So you're really taking your time in terms of traversing the field and the map. Eric, what do you think? Apart from that amazing metaphor.
Hi, Eric.
Eric.
I do believe the first time they announced it, I did bring up the point that this seemed very. And me and Adam had a.
Sorry, you broke up there for a second.
I think Adam brought up Demon Souls.
No, start again. You broke up.
So I said, I think. Right, I was about to start again.
No, start again. Start again.
Right, so I said that I disagreed with the idea of remaking The Last of Us Part 1. I felt that it was too soon.
Initially. Yes. Yeah.
And then Adam said, well, it's no more sooner than I think was Demon Souls you brought up. Yeah. And I then brought up the point of, well, Demon Souls did not look as good as The Last of Us. And it didn't play as well as what it does now. Now they have it's better graphics, better lighting, haptic feedback, better sound design, better character customization. Things like vaulting over things, they did actually tweak some of the things. I think they added in items, took away items. They did tweak the game, and the game runs and plays better.
Mm-hmm.
But it also looks like it's being brought into the next gen as well, and everything about it feels and sounds like it's in the next gen.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with The Last of Us was, it's a game it's game of the year for 200 years, right? Like, it looks like that, it sounds like that, it feels like that. So remaking it is like, you're kind of don't really need to remake. The game was already perfect, so there's nothing really to add to it. So therefore, if all you're doing is upping the graphics, well, they're not upping the graphics. Sorry, no, that's not what they're. That's like a remaster. They are building from the ground up. So I can understand to an extent why they're charging €70 because they are remaking the game, but with better graphics. But just while they're at it, give us something new. I don't know. You see, I don't know because it depends on.
And these leaks might be bullshit. They could be absolute bullshit. So this could be just speculation and rumors, right?
You know, I mean, they might give you extra shit. You know, like the gameplay might be different, but they might still be giving you extra shit, or you know, they might actually have new types of enemies. Dogs might be in it. They might have added dogs. We have no idea.
Remasters, you're charged full price for remasters,
right?
The bastards.
Well, like The Last of Us.
Well, not always. That's not true.
We bought The Last of Us remaster for PS4.
Yes,
it was full price.
Yeah. So Naughty Dog are allowed to do that, but not anyone else. Nobody else is allowed to do that.
But remasters generally are
the Final Fantasy X remaster was 2 full games remastered.
Yes,
and it was only like £50 when it came out. It wasn't a full price game.
No, yeah. That one. Yeah,
so there is an example of one where, like, there are some remasters that come out.
Not to be. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I suppose, and this is a PS3 game that was remastered.
But...
Skyrim.
Hey! You don't speak shit about Skyrim.
I'm just saying there are games that have less work done on them.
100%.
That are sold at full price, but we still buy them.
Skyrim is not one of them.
I just
Skyrim
think
has new work on them every year.
I think the whole debate is fascinating in terms of like what is a remake? What do people even want from a remake?
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference nowadays between a remake and a remaster? How much work needs to go into something for it to be like, even if you look at, okay, so then the Crisis Core Reunion is coming, right?
Yeah.
And it's classed as a remaster, but they've totally reworked the combat system, the camera movement. They've recorded new voiceover for everybody.
Yeah, I would call that a remake, but then
why is that not a remake?
I know, right?
It's very interesting.
Unless in their head, are they maybe like the way they're wanting to communicate it? I don't think it's correct. I think that is a remake, but maybe their marketing team is like, well, we don't want people to think we're doing the remake treatment to Crisis Core,
right?
So because they have kind of changed the meaning of a remake to some degree,
which I think has possibly added.
That has angered people too, right?
100%.
I love what they're doing with remake. I think it's actually, to make that a sequel, to the original is just genius.
Fascinating.
While giving
Absolutely.
us the same thing.
It's incredible.
But that has angered people because people do want it beat for beat, exactly the same. Do not touch it. This is my baby, and all they want is just the better graphics.
I used to watch. Shout out to Soldier First Class on YouTube, but I used to check out his channel all the time. He'd always do little updates on Final Fantasy VII, but I know he was incredibly disappointed with the remake, and no longer makes YouTube videos, and it's quite sad. And I don't know if that's the sole reason. There could be other stuff that happened. I have no idea.
But even when we did our episode, like
it is sad.
We had Brian on.
Sure,
he wasn't too happy about it either.
No.
Initially, I think he's kind of warmed up to it. But
the thing is, though, if someone's unhappy with it, they're totally justified.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because you can make an argument of false advertising. But then you can also make an argument for, well, no, that's just like the clever meta writing of it all. And yeah, it's just fascinating. But it adds to the
I'd
debate
imagine for many people, this Last of Us Part 1 treatment is exactly how you should go about it.
For some people.
I think it's many people.
I don't think so. Well, maybe I'm seeing a different sphere. I'm seeing a lot of
I imagine there's a lot of anger, but there's a lot of anger with the second. Like, I mean, I think at this point, Naughty Dog could
release the best game ever, and it'll piss off half the world.
I mean, they really, really did annoy people with that part too. Yeah. So I think there's probably a lot of haters out there, regardless of what they're doing.
Sure. Yeah, right there, Eric.
There goes his Wiffy.
No, yeah, you can speak.
Either way, it's still kind of been a success because people are talking about it.
Oh yeah, and look,
the haters will buy it
so that they can hate on it more.
So that they can play it and be like, yeah, see, so they're gonna hate it.
The haters will buy it so that they can smash it with a hammer or something.
Yeah.
Well, maybe nobody hates it. Maybe that's just bots. But the I think as well, The Last of Us Part 1. Let's be real here for a second. I'm going to stop being devil's advocate and all this shit. I think if someone has never played The Last of Us, this is going to be a really good jump on point. You know, if you've never experienced it, and if it is genuinely just the same story, like the story was incredible, masterpiece. But if you're going to have the better graphics and maybe a smoother gameplay experience, then this is the way to experience it if you've never played it. My only thing is, if you have played it, I'm not so sure there's a reason to get this one again.
Like, I don't think I'm going to actually. I'm certainly not in a hurry to jump on this. I might just
no. There's no pre-order for this.
I do think that this is the way to go about it, but I've already, I don't know if I'm really into it. That's the thing.
Right.
I don't need it. Is basically what.
I'm just curious though, if you had seen a trailer and there was stuff different. For example,
no, I don't think so.
There's a section you play as Tommy or something. Like, I mean, really different, totally new scenes. Would you then be like, oh, I want to see what they do with that?
No, I don't think so.
No?
No.
Oh, I'd be on that in a second then.
What if at one point, right, the game ends, the credits rolling, then you start to hear snow falling, and then you hear Solid Snake's voice with David Hayter. And then it goes into Metal Gear Solid Remake. It's 2 games in one.
After. It's a whole...
Immediately after. It just keeps going. It's a whole game.
And then Monica shows up. And it was actually Doki Doki Literature Club all along.
Remake.
This is just like a Lego Batman of games.
Yeah, like remake Doki Doki Literature Club. What would that look like? Just like the drawings are nicer. But you still click. That would be a remaster.
You put it in the 3D environment, so the environment itself starts to actually like
it's VR
change and becomes like Silent. Oh my god, VR. And it becomes Silent Hill.
Badass. Okay.
Oh yeah, Doki Literature Club remake. Then by the end of it, you have the credits rolling. Then it becomes Silent Hill. This is the greatest remake game ever. Just goes with everything.
Let us know yourselves, anyway, guys. Whoever's listening, what you think about this whole Last of Us thing. And also, is Last of Us Part 1 on your radar? Are you going to be picking it up? Are you looking forward to it? Are you looking forward to the show that's coming too? I feel like a lot of people, when they jump on with the show who have never played the game before, will then go pick this up, and they'll have a Last of Us Part 1 and a Last of Us Part 2 that are both very modern games to jump into. And maybe that's the thinking behind this. Is like, this is the jump on point for our new Last of Us fans, right? Anyway, for our final topic today, a review of Netflix's Resident Evil, which I've seen in full. I watched the whole thing, and actually, when you watch the whole thing, it turns out it's shit. But light spoiler, or no, fuck that. Spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't seen it and for any reason is not wanting it spoiled on you.
I've seen a couple of like.
You might be enjoying it. Some people are enjoying it, so you let me know if you're enjoying it. But yeah, I think you guys should just ask questions. Maybe I don't really know how else to format this because I don't want to just.
I've only seen 2 episodes.
I've seen 2 episodes.
Stopped.
Yeah,
after two episodes, that's enough. If you're going to have the leader of Umbrella, or at least the leader of the said African branch of Umbrella, describe yourself as a chronic masturbator. I was a bit like, yeah, no thanks. This is the dialogue of business people. Also, I noticed one weird thing, right? And then I'll ask you questions, right?
Sure.
So her hairstyle, which she wears like 2 days in a row in episode 2. She has her hair, and then she has like this weird metal loop, like right off her hair.
Okay.
And then she has attached to that hoop is more hair, but it's not like
she's wearing hair extensions.
Metal loop. I don't know. It doesn't even look like extensions. It
just looks Chris, like this is what we need to know about the show.
Read this loop. This is what we need to know, Chris.
This is what is wrong with her? I have to be honest with you. I have no idea what you're talking about. I did spend a lot of this. Though. I did. That fucking straight up scared the shit out of me.
The zombies, they make sense. This hair wrapped around a loop of metal loop attached to more hair, that fucking shit scared the hell out of me.
Somebody out there is going to know exactly, like this is like an everyday use for women with long hair or something. Somebody let us know what the fuck Eric's talking about. I bet you this is like it's a go-go or something. Someone let us know. I have no idea what you're talking about because I spent half the show on my phone.
Okay. Is there a point, right? So we've only watched the first 2 episodes.
Is there a point?
Like no. Is there a point?
No, there is not.
But does it get to a point where you kind of go, oh, maybe, and then obviously doesn't really live up to anything? But was there a point where you thought maybe there could have been hope for the show?
No.
It's just a disaster from beginning to end.
I mean, for me, yeah. I mean, again, I know there are people who like the show, and that's perfectly fine, right? That's perfectly fine if people enjoy the show.
I am confused by the couple of positives that I've seen, because it does seem that a lot of
and
people
some of them
don't
are strong
like
positives. Some of them are strong positives, though. Like some of them
because
are like,
regardless
like,
of,
I love it.
Regardless of whether or not this is Resident Evil and looks anything like Resident Evil or sounds like Resident Evil, pretend it's not Resident Evil. It's still not a great show.
I know, that's what I tried to do.
No.
Yeah.
I tried to go, okay, so just as a show on its own merits then, because I'm already unhappy with
what does everyone like about it, really?
I don't know. I think there is an element where people maybe like the, which possibly is the most interesting element of the show. I mean, the post-apocalypse stuff is shit, right?
Yeah.
It sucks. But I think possibly the most intriguing story element to the show, not necessarily an execution, but just on paper, the 2 sisters who start to realize that their father isn't all he seems, and that maybe there's something else going on with the sinister organization. I've seen a few people on YouTube as well comment on, what if this show wasn't called Resident Evil at all, and we didn't know the organization was Umbrella, and they hid, or they didn't do the Wesker thing even. So you just have these 2 girls, they're in this new place, they're kind of trying to fit in, they hang out with their dad, but then something isn't right, and slowly but surely they unravel the mystery, and the twist is that they're in an Umbrella complex, and that it's actually Resident Evil. And that's how the show or the season sort of ends. And then you realize that slowly but surely we're going to work up to the whole zombies and BOWs and that kind of stuff. And I was like, again, it's not the Resident Evil show I would want, but it is definitely still a more interesting take than what they actually did, which is we know more than the characters do. Yeah. And so there is no mystery. Right, there's literally no.
And I think
mystery.
that's what we said in our last episode, wasn't it? Is that Resident Evil is a mystery horror. Like it's about the mystery.
Yeah, 100%.
But there is a mystery in it, though, isn't there?
Yeah, what do you think that is? What's the mystery in?
How Wesker?
Right, so that's something they answer actually.
Yeah, so that's a mystery.
Right,
How
so that,
how
and
far into it do they answer that?
right, so again, full spoilers, everyone. The Albert Wesker, who is their father, is a clone.
Okay.
And he's not the only one. And then you get to see there's an opportunity for Lance Reddick to play various characters. He does as well, for a moment, play Wesker, as an actual Wesker. He has the shades, he's got hair, he's got the leather jacket, he fights some people. But that Wesker, that's in a flashback, that Wesker is in fact dead. So the real Wesker did die in the volcano in Resident Evil 5. That happened. And these are clones of his.
So they're saying that the Wesker from Resident Evil 5
right
is still Lance.
Yeah, Lance is playing that Wesker, I think, is probably the better way of saying
so
that.
So haven't really explained anything.
No. They're not doing like an appearance. Like, there's no reveal behind the appearance, for example. Right?
Okay.
It's just that they've cast this guy to play that character. But the explanation is, how is he alive and why is he a father and why is he nothing like Albert Wesker in terms of how he behaves?
Honestly,
in a
this
show
guy
isn't really Albert Wesker.
In a show about where the normal grunts are people who die and come back alive, that's not really my question surrounding Wesker.
Yeah.
If this was supposed to be a continuation of the games, a little bit of consistency would be appreciated.
No, I get you. Yeah. And even at that, I suppose, when he comes down a staircase and he's in the leather jacket and everything, and you kind of, Jesus, what was that? Did you hear that?
No.
I got a weird fucking feedback. I don't think he likes me talking about him. It's like, it was so bizarre. It was like a robotic voice came into my headphones.
It's the Snyder bots.
The bots are back. But he comes down the stairs, but he doesn't even have, like, so they give him hair for that moment.
Okay.
But it's not even blonde hair. He just has like black hair.
Right. Okay.
And it's not even slicked back or anything. Like, he doesn't look like Wesker.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, it's a strange choice, but that is their logic behind why there is a Wesker alive.
Okay.
And why he's not necessarily the Wesker we're all familiar with. And then because he's a clone, his body will degrade quickly over time, because when Albert made them, he wanted them to age quickly because he wanted to use them as, like, I don't know, workers or something. So he has to inject himself. I wasn't fully clear on why he has to do this or why it has to be these people, but he injects himself with his daughter's blood, you would have seen early on.
Yep.
And when he starts shaking and stuff, because it slows down his degradation and keeps him alive.
Okay.
So then a rift causes between them, because it's like, oh, you're only keeping us to keep yourself alive. You don't love us.
I never would have thought that coming.
No, right?
So now that they have, is there a reason? Because I really like Lance Reddick in the show, right?
Yeah, he's very good.
Don't particularly like the fact that they cast him as Wesker. Is there any reason at all that they needed to have brought Wesker back?
No.
So he could have been just a new character.
Absolutely.
With some sort of aging degradation thingy.
100%.
What the hell?
Yeah. I literally have no idea, and I don't even know. And then Evelyn Marcus, I suppose, is supposed to be the daughter of Dr. Marcus from Umbrella.
Okay.
But that
how's
also,
her dance? I saw that.
Is it necessary? Oh, oh, Jesus Christ!
Does that? Because I see that out. Like, honestly, Resident Evil out of context. I think it's actually a thread online. It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
In context,
it's still out of context.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, Jade goes into her tent.
Yeah.
And she just starts doing that. And you're like, what the fuck? I literally face palmed. I went, what? And this was like the penultimate episode.
Oh, it's in the last episode.
The penultimate.
Oh, sorry, it's the
right. So I'm like, where is this going? You know? And then it turns out that Billy pops out and she taps her little, like, tablet, and then Evelyn sort of shuts down. And so she has her under her mind control. And
Okay.
basically that whole scene is just her way of going, I can make her do anything I want. But it's like, yeah, but why that? Like, why did the show creators go, that's our way of showing that Billy is in control?
Is this
The
like
fucking evil corporate lady is going to dance and sing along to, what the fuck even is that song?
I don't know. Is that
No, she sang it and danced quite well, I have to. Eric, have you seen that clip?
No,
Oh,
no,
we're gonna
I've
send it to you.
literally
It's-
I've only seen 2 episodes.
It's
Danny,
it's
and actually
a work
shout
of
out
art.
to Danny, who's been on the podcast before. My fellow plothead. He messaged me to ask had I seen Resident Evil. I said, yeah, I saw it all, right? And he was like, the Mila Jovovich movies are way better. And I was like, yeah, they are. They actually are. I can't believe it. They 100% are.
Is that supposed to be like a Jill Valentine from Resi 5 under control kind of a thing, or
Like it could be, but there's nothing on her to suggest why she's under control. She just sort of like shuts down when Billy taps the thing, and the act. Oh my god, the actor is playing Billy older.
yeah,
Not a patch on the kid, to be honest. The kid was, I thought, good
yeah.
as a character, right? They give her like a leather jacket, and she's the evil one,
What's with the
evil
leather?
sister. And honestly, it's. I think the framework for this was the Paul W.S. Anderson movies, but
Like
they're
Wesker
way more fun.
had a leather jacket in 5,
Yeah,
and it's very
Yeah.
clear that, let's say, from post Resi 4, which is actually only 2 games really, but those 2 games are very much inspired off of the movies in terms of tone
yeah.
and style, etc. But prior to that, maybe Code Veronica, there's a little bit of leather in that. But
No,
there's-
I don't think he wears leather in that, but he does do it all
I thought-
that fast shit. And he has the shades.
yeah,
Yeah, well, maybe then again, the
Well,
only
he's
one
always
I've
had
ever
the shades,
played
though,
is
right?
he's always had the shades.
He always has shades.
I think the only one I ever played was the Umbrella Chronicles. Well, Dark Side Chronicles. No, yeah, Dark Side Chronicles. And I think he did have the Resi 5 outfit in the Dark Side Chronicles, but I don't know about the original.
Right, and that might have been just a retrospective thing.
Yeah.
yeah. I
that
don't
would be
recall
the
him. No, I mean, he's always been kind of in military gear. Maybe he had one in 4. I can't really remember.
4, he had
When
a
he's
suit.
on- when he's
He had
on-
like a grey suit or something.
What's the suit? Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he looked cool. Like
Yeah.
it worked. Yeah, he went on Matrix in Resi 5.
Yeah. There's the architect
yeah.
in 4, and he was Neo in 5, and
Yeah.
and then he's Lance Reddick in the TV show.
I don't know what they were thinking, honestly. And also I have to say the last episode just sort of ends.
Okay.
It doesn't end in any kind of way that makes you go, oh well, now I'm hooked for season 2, right? I really couldn't care about anyone or anything.
All I can say is fair
I-
play to you finishing it, though. You know.
I know. Well, I suppose I was curious as to where some of these 9 out of 10s are coming from. And I was like, maybe there's a trick I'm missing, or maybe when I finally get to the end of this, it's all going to click and it was like a really clever show or something. Or there's going to be something that's like, actually, you know what? Now on a second viewing, it all kind of makes sense and it's what they're doing is interesting. But no, it's not. There's nothing there. There's really a lack of substance. It feels unfinished as well. It feels like it just abruptly ends. And it feels very unfinished.
Is there, because like, okay, so there's 2, essentially there's 2 timelines, but now you're saying there's actually a flashback too, so that's kind of 3. But is there like a conclusion to the kids' story that ends up kind of connecting with the post-apocalyptic one, or are these essentially 2 different kind of stories that are kind of happening simultaneously nearly?
Well, you see that I think, and this is the problem with the way they wrote this story. You already know the outcome. You know that eventually they're going to be on the run, and that's sort of how their story concludes.
But is
they
it
end
like
up on the run from Umbrella, and that's really it.
I'm just wondering,
really
like,
that simple.
does it end to a point where, okay, it's season 2 will now be just the post-apocalyptic stuff, or will season 2 continue?
No, season 2
with the
will
2?
definitely. No, the 2 kids will be, because they haven't split them up yet. and when you get to the post-apocalypse, they've been split up. So,
I just don't understand why they have the two timelines.
no, I have no idea, Adam. I'm telling you, it is a shit show. I don't know what they were thinking. It is not good, and I don't care if they make a season 2. And I'm not trying to be rude to any of the people who worked on it. I'm just, as a finished product as it stands, it is not good. In fact, it is awful. So that's, I don't know. No what else to say. And the thing is, there's moments where you're like, maybe this could be good. You know what I mean? Like the lickers are quite impressive, and the spider is quite impressive, right? Like those moments are kind of impressive. But then the kind of acting that surrounds it, or just the way it's directed and everything, kind of just is so boring and uninteresting that, like, it's like those things could be terrifying if you shot this right, and if you edited this right, and if you had the right soundscape. I should be a bit nervous about watching the next episode. This is how I feel about Resident Evil. I should be nervous about watching the next episode, but I should also not be able to help myself or want to know what happens next. I think that's the energy you need to capture in a Resident Evil series, rather than, I wonder what happened to these sisters and why they fell out, which seems to be the driving force of the show. Because it's built on that relationship. That's what the show is really about.
And the thing is that you could easily do, like, because I probably would agree with, obviously everyone who's attempted to do a version of Resident Evil, they're all thinking the same thing, which is, we can't touch the games. Like, we just cannot take that story and adapt it, right? We're going to butcher the shit out of it. I probably agree with that.
I don't, but anyway.
But you could easily, I mean, Raccoon City's huge. You could easily do a story in Raccoon City.
You can.
So many people are involved.
Yeah. You can, but the time frame isn't that big, right? Like, it gets bombed pretty quickly because the virus is so rapid. You get about the Raccoon City incident. I think all in all is about 3 days.
Yeah, give or take 3 days.
You know what I mean? So that's all you get. And of course you could.
Shit goes to like not to 100 in just 3 days.
Well,
but I suppose like this is the kind of like, this isn't like COVID is bad. Well, this is like way worse. Yeah.
Well, it could be longer, but from
when Leon gets there.
Leon gets there, I think day 2.
Yeah.
While Jill's story of Resident Evil 3 is about 3 days long. But when she gets attacked by Nemesis at the very start and she leaves, there's already hordes of zombies and the place is already burning. People have already been attacked. So realistically, the incident's about 5 days probably.
Right. But either way, like, you can't.
But in 5 days is like the new. Yeah, you can't do a whole TV
because
show.
Of how fast it spreads and the imminent danger of such a virus. You really can't drag out the Raccoon City incident too long.
But you could do a first season, no?
Yeah, you could, because that could easily be over the course of a few days. Like, not each episode has to be a day. It could be half a day even, or whatever. Of course you could do it.
And then you might think, where could you go from there? Well, post Raccoon City, there seems to be all kinds of shit happening around the world. So
yeah, go to Spain, guys.
You could build a story from there.
Yeah, no, you could.
And is there a reason? Okay, well, we Resident Evil has taken place in Africa before. We know that the progenitor virus comes from there. Does this show have any reference to why they're based in South Africa?
Nope.
So
it doesn't,
they just randomly pick that spot.
Evelyn brings up the whole thing of, we could control the world of patterns. I don't know if you saw that within the first 2 episodes, where she shares like a red dot and she talks about how we could manipulate the world of patterns if this was an app on everyone's phone. That never comes up again. The Joy virus thing, it's briefly explained as to why that would turn into the T virus, but it's not even clear as to whether is that what caused the spread, or is it because Billy, who escapes at Jade at the end, is actually carrying the T virus in her. And just because of her DNA, it won't change her into a zombie, but every so often she gets these bloodlusts and just sort of... So it's like she goes in and out of the kind of zombie phase, because she bites Evelyn's son like she can't help herself and she bites him, and Evelyn shoots him in the head. And then Jade is kind of torn because she feels she needs to protect Billy, but she's also terrified of what she just did. So obviously it's like you're looking at it and going, all right, well, that's what causes the rift later on. And also she just killed the guy she liked and all this kind of stuff. But so it's like, okay, so is it that Billy gets out, ends up biting a bunch of people and the virus spreads, or do they actually manufacture joy and people buy it and they overdose on it? And then, because it's if people overdose on joy, it'll turn into the T virus.
I mean,
joy.
There's
lots of ideas there.
Yeah, there's elements
they're
of
not taking any of them.
That kind of sound cool, right? Which is like the over reliance on medication to solve your problems, which just make you worse. I mean, that's there's something kind of cool to do there, but it sounds like that Evelyn one is just evil, just cause.
Yeah, there is kind of an interesting scene where she has been, and the son finds out, but she has been like breaking up the joy drug and sneaking it into like her wife's wine just to make her happy. And she doesn't know she's doing it, but it's like, oh, and then like he confronts her about it and she's like, well, look, do you want her to stay or not? And it's her like messed up way of just keeping their relationship together. Is like, well, if I just drug her with a bit of joy, she'll be happy and I can continue working. And it's like, that's kind of an interesting idea, right? Like, it's like, and that's an evil I can understand.
There's a motivation behind that evil.
There's a motivation behind that kind of evil. But the other shit where it's like, oh, we can control all the chronic masturbators and we can send drugs all over the world and make billions and we don't care if the T virus is in it. It's like, what the come on. There's like a round table of corporate spectre type heads who are all like, yeah, billions, let's go. So
because that's how evil
silly
decisions are made.
Yeah, versus I prefer the idea for any kind of umbrella evil corporate head that they have a personal motivation. They create something, or they go too far with science and it turns out to be a bad thing and it gets out of hand.
Yeah,
I prefer that. I think that makes, rather than the evil let's take over the world thing.
It's a kind of was like those kind of like it's Jurassic Park, basically Jurassic Park with zombies, right? It's the
100%
playing God a little bit.
Yeah, and then it gets out of control.
I think that was Spencer's whole idea. I think Spencer is a fascist. He was the whole
but I wonder,
SynderVerse was to make like
did that come later
race.
Though? You know what I mean? Did that come later, and is that just because like at that point they were trying to make them more movie like, or was that ever in the original?
Oh, I don't know, because I don't think Spencer was ever in the original.
From my understanding of the original game, it really is just that they had been making bioweapons for the military, like secretly, and they got out, and so they had this disaster that they were trying to cover up. And that's, to me, I think that's the bones of Resident Evil 1.
That's like Army of the Dead.
Yeah. Yes, it is. But now, guys, we'd love to hear from all of you. If you're watching this on YouTube, jump down in the comments, share your thoughts on Resident Evil. What did you think of the show? Maybe you loved it, and maybe you can like break the, again, like we were talking about earlier on, if you can make some kind of video essay or even just a comment or whatever on why you think it's a great show, awesome. I'd love to see it. Or if you didn't like it and there's reasons that I didn't bring up, or we didn't bring up, that you feel like they're the real standout points of so why it doesn't work or whatever, then feel free to bring them up. And if you enjoy this discussion, why not give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all future episodes. If you guys listen to this on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on not only Resident Evil, but everything else we brought up as well. Don't be just a bot, get involved, and let's find out if the Snyder Cut was restored. This is gonna be gas like next week, but it's like, oh, there was so much shit we could have talked.
Well,
but no,
hopefully we have loads to talk about next time.
Exactly. But this was fun. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back to talk to you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.